Another Sunday recording session. Way too early in
Are
the
we live?
morning.
Oh,
We're
we're already
live.
live.
Yeah, we're live. Ay, ay, ay,
Welcome.
ay.
I know.
Ay, ay,
Ay,
ay,
ay,
ay,
ay, ay,
ay.
ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay.
Coordinated.
There you go.
Yeah.
Welcome. Today we have someone that can that maybe can he doesn't maybe know, can mark the pitch or help me with my pitch, but we have Tony here. He's well, he can give us his own intro, but he's a fantastic musician. He's got a lot of experience in the music industry. And thank you, Tony. Asif, I'm gonna go ahead and just jump right in. Tony, welcome.
Thanks for having me. This is awesome. I feel like a company of friends right here already. I know I've known Assis for quite some time, so thanks for giving me the opportunity to share my experiences as it relates to music, AI, and general topics. So my name is Tony. My background is I've worked on business systems pretty much my whole career for 20 plus years. I had a side hobby, musician. Started playing when I was about 18 or 19, which is actually a little bit late. Grew up in the Midwest, was born in upstate New York area, grew up in the Midwest in a small town, didn't have a whole lot to do. And because of
Ooh.
that, I gravitated towards music because a couple of my friends had some bands of their own, and I went to go watch them play, and I'm like, I want to do that. So I just picked up a guitar, and I didn't know what I was doing with it, and I just put my paws on it and started noodling, trying to figure out chords, building up a callus on my fingers. Um,
Right.
Mhm.
I thought even when I went to go change my strings, I took apart the bridge on the guitar and just completely took it apart and realized you don't have to do that, dude. You could just pull the string through the back, go up through the saddle all the way up to the neck. I didn't know what I was doing, but I tell you what, though, I figured out how the hell to set up a guitar because of that.
Right,
Yeah.
So
right.
yeah. So you just my professional life has been great. My music life was really good, very busy, very active. I've had my works on MTV back in the, I guess, 2008 time frame. I had several songs that were used for music licensing, and they also
Okay.
call it synchronization licensing. It's a great business to be in if you're an independent musician. I'm trying to get my foot back in the door. It's just not having as much success as I've had previously doing that. But so I have like a multitude of different types of things I've worked on. One, I do my own engineering. I do my own
Mm.
songwriting. I also send my stuff out to other like mix houses so they can finish my work and polish it. Basically, I work with through different genres. I've done hip hop editing. I edited a whole hip hop album from a kid out in Iowa City. His name's Isaiah. Amazing work. I've done pop music. Primarily, I'm mostly metal and hard rock.
Mhm.
So I do a lot of that stuff. So if you listen to Rosati, you'll hear like three versions of me almost. Like you'll hear I do rally songs for sports
Right,
teams, hoping
right,
that someday that maybe some of these sports teams will pick up the music. I also
right.
do my own hard rock stuff that I'll either hire somebody out or I work with some friends in the Midwest. So and the one thing that's wonderful about music is that it keeps your spirits, it keeps everybody together. Friendships, you
Mhm.
form friendships and networks, and it's just amazing all the people that
Right.
I've gotten to know because of music. Like I've gotten to know, some people, the national anthem singer of the Tampa Bay Lightning, because I wrote a song for it called "Rally of the Bolts" for the Tampa Bay Lightning, an NHL team, and because of that, I met a lot of NHL fans of the Tampa Bay Lightning, and we talk all the time.
Yeah.
Just as that's just one instance of how I've
Right.
been able to connect with people. So
Mhm.
That's right.
yeah,
That's
pretty
right.
cool.
Yeah, I don't know who was that. Was it like a Bob Marley or one of the Bob Marley songs said, music keeps you grooving, but also keeps you together. Something along
Yeah,
the lines. So just that's what it
yeah.
reminded me of when he said that.
It's an
But first of
absolute.
all, my name is Asif, and I have no idea about music. That's why you're here. But the second thing I want to say is like if I or anybody who's listening, how would they find your music? Would they have to go YouTube, SoundCloud? They have to go to MySpace. Where do they go?
So yeah, I have a website called RosatiMusic.com, and it's kind of a landing page of all things social media
All
where
right,
we
cool.
exist. So anywhere digitally distributed, if you look up Rosati, which is spelled Razatti, you'll find my music, and just there's like a whole different multitude of streaming services that when I do my publishing, it branches out to all the different streaming services for all my releases. So that's where yeah, all my work is published. I put a lot of effort into it. It's a labor of love. Um, there's a lot of humanity in it, but there's also some there's also some digitized in this new world we live in with the digital audio workstations. You can do a lot. You have a lot at your fingertips to the point where the art form of engineering in the old school studios that you go to and you hire people like that actually went to school for sound engineering, you almost no longer need them, and it's really threatened their industry. And they've had to get on board and make changes on their side as well.
Mhm.
So
I never really thought about that where, yeah, technology advances and there's areas where you don't know, you don't think of that are affected. You think it would just improve, but then that's one area of the industry that I've never thought about is engineering. The fact that you have like even AI now, without just jumping right into it, there's AI out there that they're using for, I've seen it for rap, but it can be used for music writing. It can be used for AI can really change the face of what and how it affects people's jobs really, really quick. In a span of maybe a few years ago to today, all of a sudden people are nervous about their jobs. Wha- how can this algorithm take what I do, what I've done my whole life, and do it better than I do, or almost at the same level? Give the
That's
same
right.
finished product.
Yeah.
Sound engineering. I never really thought about that, but that's another one to add to the list.
yeah,
Um,
there's also I'd like to dive into some of the legalities. So even I've used AI, Chat GPT to help me with my permission music letters. So otherwise, I would have had to gone to an attorney, to get. Have gone to attorneys in the past in regards to how to structure things and set myself up. But a music permission letter, which is very important to somebody like me and very niche when you think of it. I went to
mhm.
Chat GPT and say, write me up a music permission letter. And sure enough, within 5 minutes, I had this beautiful, nice skeletonized form of what it should look like. And and having all the knowledge I have and read all the books, Don Passman, amazing book about the music industry, what you need to know about the music industry, great book. Um, it was pretty much spot on. Of course, I had to make changes and tweaks, but now I
Mhm.
have a music permission letter that would have taken me $500, God knows how much time, right, back and forth with the lawyers and getting set up that way. So pretty amazing. And right there is an example.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the spectrum is wide, right? So even if we start talking about music industry, that alone is a spectrum that you can explore. And then you say, like, what about AI spectrum? Well, that's even larger. So, but if you narrow it down more and more, you end up with, well, you got use cases. No matter how many use cases you have to have some data behind it. And then once you have that data for it, you have to figure out even niche, like how do you process that data? And then you say, like, how do I make it ethical? How do I make it
Exactly.
interoperable? How do I make this worth somebody's time? How do I process this information, the data, and fast in real time, so that Tony can have things done in 5 minutes rather than
Hmm.
50 days of chasing a lawyer around. So I think the spectrum is wide, but it's fascinating discussion because previous technology would come and settle in after some time, as in, look at software, websites. How long can you count? When did it start? And when did it really just said, we cannot do without it? I think AI is just doing the same, but it's taking very little time. There's no time to prepare anymore with AI. It's just it's overnight, right?
Mhm.
Um, whatever you want to do, you can actually develop an AI solution for that very quickly and rapidly deploy it and have it tested out and make it successful or not, right? So these use cases are mind boggling, but it's scary at the same time. mind-boggling as it impresses you very well, but then you start thinking about the legal jargon, the sound right, copyrights behind it. Um, uh, what happens to the quality of music that, let's say, your great grandfather will put forward versus an AI would, right? I don't know what's your
Yeah.
thought on that side of conversation.
Going back to the data set, the biggest thing that concerns me with music, and it's very complex as it relates to legalities of what is copyrightable in the music industry, what you can get sued for in the music industry, essentially. And it's not necessarily I wrote some lyrics that are in. It's not necessarily you can't copyright a 1/4 beat on a drum. You can't copyright a blues bar. You can't. What you can copyright is the embodiment of the song, which includes the melody of the song, and that's where you see complications. That's where I see complications of AI, the data set that it's getting from individual artists, let's say,
Mhm.
that can take somebody else's work, get it into AI without maybe even realizing it, perhaps, or maybe they're nefariously taking something and put it in there. And it now becomes hard to determine who the source is that did that. So it makes it even harder to go after. How do you go after AI, Chat GPT? You have intellectual property, you need to take it down. How does it generate music that doesn't violate that, frankly? So, that's one of the wrinkles that I have
Mhm.
concerns over is how it's getting its data set. Um, there's plenty of use cases, I would say.
Mhm.
Maybe you have a podcast like this and you want some original music. I could provide that for you if you wanted, and give you all the permissions you need without getting any monetization taken down or anything like that, or content taken down. So those are the things I'm thinking about. Like, how's that going to work? How is that going to? Uh, I've seen some cases already where I think it was Rick Beato, who is a big time world renowned musician and producer, and he went to Cornell, I think, and he had a case where he went to a site where he was listening to this AI generative music, and the electronic music was actually pretty darn good. The acoustic music wasn't very good at all. So it has a long way to go there because
Right.
it's lacking some of that humanity. And this is
Mhm.
again, this is an art form that's become digitized, but it's now going to become AI generated. And it's just like, are we going to lose the humanity in music itself? Because that's what plays on our emotions. That's what pulls us. That's what lifts our spirits. Or if we're angry, um, that's what also allows us to get that emotion out so we can be normal people again.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
speaking of emotions, Andre Bocelli is doing his, last gig of tours worldwide, and my wife went to one like 2 days ago, and she's like, "Oh, this is the last one." I'm like, "Are you sure about that?" Because you might hear him for the next 1,000 years,
Mhm.
uh, putting his music out to a 14-year-old kid based on that 14-year-old kid's desire of the music with his voice, but the generational changes in the music. You know, uh, I mean, that's happening in the movie industry. That's happening in the audio industry. I don't know. Lucky. So where do we take this conversation? Because there's probably a whole lot to dig into.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about that exact thing. I've worked with different types of AI, generative AI, different types of algorithms, and after it's all said and done, when you look at them, there's yes, it's fantastic, but again, AI is, and you hit it right on the head, Tony. It's not original. It's taking a data set, a known data set, and then playing it a little bit different, but it's still the same data set. And so you apply that to music. So the what I can imagine is almost like a record player. Do you imagine, like, like the Technique, the 1200s or the 1210s, the old record players? That's, I imagine AI being like a record player. All it can do is play it a variety of a data set. So what I mean is you can take a
Right.
record on a record player and you can play it on 33, and it sounds the speed, and it sounds normal, and then you think, okay, well, I'm going to change it slightly. So with the record player, you flip the switch and it turns to 45 and it plays really really fast and it sounds like chipmunks.
Yeah.
And so what I see is AI not being able to come up with anything original is what I'm saying. That all it's going to be able to do is replay what's out there because that's what it knows and it does that well. But as far as originality, there's nothing they're not uh, and I got to be careful because there could be an algorithm where they throw another all they got to do is throw a different note in there and now it's original. But the fact of the matter is I don't think it's gonna be hard to be able to say, "Hey, it's AI generated, it's original." It's gonna be hard to prove that. It's gonna be easier to prove, "Hey, it's a data set that's known, it pulled from this," kinda like with
Right.
Sting and P. Diddy, where the
Hmm.
every day, that beat,
Yeah.
that melody,
Right.
you know, somebody's gonna have to pay somebody money because if they generate music
Absolutely.
with AI, it's not original. That's what I
Right.
feel. I mean, that's kinda and I really feel that, Tony.
Yeah. I do too. I mean, there's a lot of aspects to it. So, like YouTube already has algorithms that monitor. So if I upload somebody's, obviously, if I upload their works, it's going to automatically flag it based on algorithms to sense if it already belongs to somebody or exists somewhere else,
Oh, wow.
which is very interesting how quick that can happen. Um, so yeah, I'm thinking about all that, all the complications with this AI generated music and how the data set, if you have artists that are contributing to that data set, you're almost in a way you could say in one aspect doing a disservice, but on another side, maybe for the person using it, not so much because they don't care exactly where the music came from, but they like
Mhm.
it. So that's like one of those things where it's like it's kind of a slippery slope at this point. I'm just not sure where it's going to take us, and if we lose our humanities, our art forms, then I have some concerns with that because really, music means so much to people. It's saved lives. It's
Mm.
it's just one of those art forms where I think AI could it write a song that's a masterpiece? Probably, I guess, but maybe not. I mean, it's also going to be very digitized in the fact that it may be locked into a certain beats per minute, or maybe it can
Mhm.
variate that to sound more human. I'm pretty sure they could do that because I could do that. So it's just a matter of how it's going to be used. It comes down exactly to that, how it's going to be used, how it's going to be governed, if at all. I
Mhm.
hope there is some governance to it because we want to preserve some of those art forms. A lot of times I go back and listen to old music. Why? Because it sounds human. They didn't
Mhm.
have all the gadgets and all the technology that we have today to produce this amazing, like, in your face every frequency. It was more or less five people playing in a room with a mic in the room and
Yeah.
multiple takes, right? And
Mhm.
something there that it's like magic in a bottle that I don't think I don't know if it could get there. I would be very surprised, but maybe I wouldn't be so surprised with all the things I'm seeing now. So yeah, very interesting.
I want to make a few points, but before I make those few points, on your expense of the time that you're going to spend listening to me, but I do want to point one thing out very fast. Is that Lucky? I don't know if you're reading my mind, but you said P Diddy, and that's what I was thinking about literally as you said that because like that shooting incident back in 2000, and Jennifer Lopez and P Diddy dating literally what I was thinking to put the reference in time to say that was 23 years ago. It has been a while in my lifetime to go from listening to Iron Maiden, Metallica, all of a sudden listen to P. Diddy, all of a sudden just evolving into house, not the house music, but the techno music and so many different genres of music that I went through. But I was kind of like stuck in that Y2K time frame, right? So I just want to put that out there. But I do want to make 2 points, just bear with me. But the first one I want to make is the forensic side of things, right? We're talking about legal copyrights and forensics of finding out, like, hey, whose fingerprint is that? You know, where did that come from? Where did that originate from? And I think those are the things that we are challenged with today. And the explanation is there will be a solution around that. But lucky you're right on the dot because when you say generated, and the data is already available, that means GPT, generated pre-trained transformers. Well, it's pre-trained off of somebody else's music and it's transforming it to the day that you're listening to it. right? So I'm over here listening to like Rainy Night in Georgia, but in techno. I don't know. Rainy Night in Georgia, based on whatever somebody else prefers 45 years from now, right? They probably don't even know Ben Brooks sang that song 100 some years ago. They wouldn't know. They wouldn't, they just would feel that emotion of Rainy Night in Georgia, you know? So having said that, right, that GPT generating music pre-trained and is transforming it, not necessarily that's why they call it transformer. Transformer is a terminology in some of the machine learning. But it just makes sense to me. It's just like, yeah, it's generated. It has to be pre-trained. So there's no original behind it. It's trained. It's pre-trained. It's
Mhm.
pre-trained off of what something else. Um, but it probably would have difficulties to say like, now that you know all this stuff, how do you create something completely different? Because nothing in this world has zero connection, and it always is connected to the origin of wherever we came from. You know. Um, so having said that, that's my first point. The second point that I want to go back to is the fingerprint part of things, right? So if you remember Shazam, we'll listen to just a single something, the note, few seconds, or even in the crowd, it will hear the loud noise, and from the loud noise, it will reduce the loud noise and just pick up the music and say, "You are in a louded bar in a club, and you're listening to P Diddy and something about Jennifer Lopez." Like that was cool. I mean, back in even 2000s, right? That Shazam's been around for a while, and the way Shazam does fingerprint of backtracking where that music came from and backtracking to the point that you're like, how does Shazam know this music like that, right? And instead of following, I don't even have to carry a freaking house around with me to make Shazam work. I literally can just tap into my phone and have it fingerprint and music from his library or collection, right? So that's that amazing part of forensics that you can think of. But now, how do you go back and I'm diving a little bit deeper now that I said Shazam. How do you create music and how do you keep it safe? How do you keep it safe to the point that if Shazam knows, that's great because Shazam will advertise that music for you. But every time that music is played by somebody in a venue, somebody in a commercial space or on YouTube, you are being identified, first of all, as the artist. And then as an artist, you're being reimbursed for proper use of that music, right? As in, you put out a 30-second clip saying, this you can use, but on the 31st second, you got to start paying me, right? And having those kind of capability is what is either lacking at this point, uh, and that's what's going to come down in the future, right? So talk about AI, talk about machine learning, but one thing that I think is already available is blockchain, right? You have a track, you wrap it with blockchain, and I literally I'm trying to draw an image in your head, but every time somebody touches it, there's a fingerprint that comes associated with that. And that fingerprint better come with a credit card. So if you want to listen to this music, you better get charged for it somehow. You better pay me for it. Because the blockchain capability is to say you can do things other than editing. You can play the music, you can edit it. You're trying to record it. I'm gonna tell on you, right? I'm going to try to figure out if you are violating the copyrights here, and I'm going to fingerprint that, and I'll be able to take it back to a lab and do a forensic saying uh, when it when it left the artist's desk, it went to Apple, and Apple said, we'll take over it, we'll pay the artist for every single penny. But once it goes out to the ether into the internet, you have a situation where you don't know if it's just Apple that has it, right? Because you want to have a worldwide network of people knowing about your music, so you put it out in many different places. So I think the blockchain solution based on AI machine learning, like I said, the spectrum is wide, but for security purposes, for the concern of the artist and generating income for the artist, it's something that it's a matter of the artist getting involved and saying what's right and what's wrong. And giving that artist that capability to say turn on off, turn off feature, saying like I don't really care 31 seconds clip or not. Anybody who wants my music, they can have it. And there's a lot of artists like that out there.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of opting in and opting out, right?
Right.
So I think the
Yes.
blockchain capability, AI, machine learning, these things are not only creating a hazard, but they're also creating the safety guardrail. That safety guardrail, be it just a blockchain solution, it does not work without an AI. It kind of has to have AI with it, machine learning solutions with it, and these complexities are in the big hand of the studios. But while it's happening, you look at Taylor Swift, who says, yeah, you're a studio, you're cool and all that, but without me, you're really nothing, right? And if I don't give you that access, you cannot do much without me, right?
Yeah, it's
Because
hard to
I
have
generate
it's
that popularity and you
yeah,
didn't.
absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. It's hard to gain a voice in today's music scene because there's so many people who can do it now in the comfort of their own home. You don't need a laptop and an interface really to be able to create your own quote your own music using libraries and samples and all that kind of stuff. Now that you have so there's essentially a flooding of music hitting the market. And
Mhm.
the only ones you're exactly right on that is the only ones that are still part of the music, the old school music scene, the old school established musicians are the ones that are getting are the ones that are getting the bandwidth of attention, and it's the little guys like us that get hardly anything at all. But back to the Shazam thing, I think that that's an amazing tool to at least get. You really turned a flag on my head just to say raise the flag up to say, yeah, you know what, that is a good technology, because I have seen some streams from because I have the ability to do reporting to see where all of my streams are coming from. That sometimes I get reports from Apple, like I get a Shazam, like how many people Shazammed my music, for instance, and so that means somebody somewhere liked what they heard, used this and said, "What is this?" and that brought them to me. So that's pretty amazing, and how quick that happened too, right? So the capability is there. It's just I still feel there's some sort of guardrails or something preventing getting access to a wider audience. And I think that a lot for me is budget and marketing, right? You have to have some money behind you too to kind of be able to pay for subscriptions to be able to advertise to push your music out. Whereas it seems like the Shazam is more subservient and that it's out there for people to use versus, if I'm on Spotify, my streaming numbers are very small. And for me to like get any traction, I'm following all the rules and guidelines to try to get that traction, and it seems like it doesn't happen. So then I start questioning myself. Well, is it I'm not creating what people like or what they want to hear? What I'm creating is maybe something that older generations want to hear, and that's another crossroads in any musician's career is that when I was what I'm doing still regarded and liked by my listener,
Mhm.
um, and some of those things come into play. Very interesting though. Thanks for bringing that up,
Yeah.
Asif.
Yeah, I think just to give you a little bit of glimpse into Shazam, is that Shazam wasn't really that great until they had enough user uh, adopt Shazam and feed Shazam lots of information and data, and that's how they built a catalog of library. That library was so efficient that by the time you map the music to the artist, they were able to do better performance over time. So it didn't happen overnight. Just like a musician that's trying to map their music to the right audience, it doesn't happen overnight. So there's some the difficulty ramping up of the influence there. Uh, it, that Shazam is one part of the equation. And one thing I want to bring up about mapping the artist to the artist demand signal, as in where are those people that wants to listen to my music, right? Because P Diddy probably isn't that popular in Russia, right? Probably isn't that famous in Turkey, right? So if you have a worldwide audience that you can reach out to because your music generates with them more than it generates with certain demographic population that everybody probably tends to target for, right?
Mm.
So I just want to kind of reference again that 23 years of me referencing back in time. Remember Napster, right? Napster was a disaster for music industry. right? But they recuperated, right? But one of the type of people that cannot recuperate is a single artist that has no backing from the guys that can help them recuperate those losses. Metallica did very well, right? Metallica was anti Napstar, and they were able to win against Napstar, and they were able to make things happen for themselves. They still made their millions, and like whatever much generated revenue that they lost, they were able to regenerate that. But for a small artist, that's not possible. And I think that's one of the things that I want to focus on for the next few minutes is that what we see today with the protests that are happening with the unions, not only just in the car industry in Michigan, but in the entertainment industry out in Hollywood, the SAG union protest and boycotting, right? All this different the protests that are happening, they all have AI behind it. As in, AI is the one that's causing people to say, I have to protest now, otherwise it'd be too late for me to get on the protesting side of things, as in get on the road and start saying like, "What AI just took my job." Well, I'm protesting before AI even comes around to the equation, so that way I can protect a buffer zone for myself, that guardrail that we were talking about, before AI does anything. And I think that is the most beautiful example of what needs to happen, not just in music industry or car industry, but in all industry, that people are paying attention. People are educating themselves to the point that, they're literally out in the street saying, yeah, take my paycheck away. But you definitely, I'm going to definitely make sure that, I get my paycheck in the future. Right. And that's important. And that paying attention and getting in front of the issue rather than saying, I'm going to be reactive by the time I lose my job rather than being proactive. I'd rather have people proactive, because that proactive involvement, what that does for AI is that creates a right sort of guardrail, the buffer for the people to be protected, right? The human that is in the loop, right? Human that is in the loop is protected. So, Napster happened. Everybody was kind of like, who's going to do what with Napster? All of a sudden, that is a giant issue in the music industry. And
Right.
Napster is what gave birth to MP3s. Levin, Andrew Levin, whatever his
Andrew.
name is, Apple. Apple pretty much
Oh,
came in
yeah.
and said, "Yeah, I'm going to take care of Napster for you because I'm going to digitize it for you rather than having Napster steal all of it." Right. So you always have this reactive scenario. The
Hmm.
proactive part of this AI, I think, is really, really important because it's like, you've seen the fight before being reactive. You can overcome that, compensate that, blah blah blah. But with this AI thing, I think it's more like, don't wait to be reactive. Be proactive about it. Get in front of the line. Get in the line. Break the line. Whatever the case is, you have to be proactive because, like I said earlier, the AI is moving in a mind-boggling pace that by the time you realize it's probably too late, right? And let me actually flip the script here. If you look at the union, if you look at the protest, and then you flip the script on the studio, it's not the union that should be actually worried about income loss. It's the studio that will lose their relevance. That's what they need to be worried about, actually, right? The
Right.
studio themselves, the people that are earning the most, they have to actually worry about it, because the artist might not need a studio if the
Right.
technology evolves the way it's evolving. As in, a blockchain solution, and that single blockchain can be your studio that you as an artist can own, and AI will help you map that network of saying, I know your music, I see the fingerprint, I see the connection, and let me find this cluster of people that will really, really enjoy your music because I know their preference. I
Hmm.
can recommend them that they listen to your music after they finish listening to whatever they just listened to that matches your genre. And
Yeah.
then it goes into saying, how do you improve that music? Because whoever liked whatever they liked, how do you generate more of that? Because as an artist, you don't have time to ramp up. As a single artist, you don't have time to ramp up. So, like, I tried this, let me try the other shade of it, right?
Yeah.
That takes time. And I want to
Sure.
kind of reference that in that the 20, 30, 30, 80, and
Hmm.
20%. Is that for an artist or even at a startup or a business, it's always hard to go from 0 to 30%, right?
Yes.
But once you've done the hard work, that is a lot of hard work. That 30% will take you to 30 to 80, which means that from 30% to 80%, you have a lot of success, fast moving success, right? You catch on fire. And then at 80%, you kind of start stalling because the rest of the 20% that you're supposed to be on, you lose your momentum because you don't know how to recreate. You don't know how to be creative enough to, keep giving
Right.
people what they want. It's sort of like
Yeah.
what a startup or like a product company or even a
Hmm.
musician will have to face. A writer, especially when they write stuff, they just lose their edges, right?
Yeah.
After they've been so successful, so famous, right? So I
Yeah.
think even in all of that 0 to 100%, AI
Hmm.
can be a contributor, right? And so it enables an artist to do so much more without a studio. And then if an artist is paying attention already, they will prepare themselves with this knowledge and with this the road mapping of what's going to happen in next 10, 15 years. And I think however you look at it, some people will benefit. And that I think the people that will benefit is the one that's using AI rather than people that are not using AI.
Yeah, yeah. It's what's that old term? Oh gosh, like we can't use words like that because but sometimes you got to do something or get off the pot.
Yeah.
The reality is this that we've talked about this a lot of different ways, Tony, with AI, and we've had different types of experts from one side of the field to the other. And at the end, there's a big common thing: is AI is not Skynet. It's
Absolutely.
not Terminator yet. It's not iRobot yet. AI, if anything, it's GPS. It's a way to help us get somewhere faster. That's it. We want to get point A to point B. GPS. Yes, thank you, Lord. Okay, we wanna figure out how to write something smarter. I wanna write a resignation letter. Boom, AI, Chat
Yeah.
GPT. You just saved me 5 hours. I did this
Yeah.
in 10 minutes. Boom, done. But it's not gon it's a way of enabling us to do things better, and if we keep that perspective, it's not scary, you know? If anything, we flip the script now. I'm doing less work, you
That's
know?
right.
My job is easier. An example, um, technology changes, artificial intelligence comes in. Um, Now we're dealing with big data. Now we can see things that we didn't see before, right? In security, we can see things all over now. That's it. Now we can do things a little bit better than we did before. And if we keep that at least that focus, yes, there is a lot of scary stuff about AI when it comes to other technologies like identification, where they can see you with cameras and kind of that whole Big Brother type scenario. That's different. That's a different type of AI. That is real. That's but there's different forms. But if what we focus in on is yes, I have a job. I'm an engineer. I'm a whatever. If we can take advantage of the AI and use it, then we're in a better place, I think. But it's hard to make that switch, that change, because most people they like the way things are, they don't like change, and if we can accept it, then, yeah, well, I think we'll be in a good place, but it's a hard thing to come by with us, we don't want either we don't want that ease to be given to us, we wanna take it when we want, but we don't want it given to us, we don't want it forced down our throat. Well, AI is coming, and it's, like, running full stride, and it's coming right at you, so you better be ready, and be ready to accept it, and it's hard to do, but it's the reality, and that's just the truth. And it's the same across all fields. We've seen this now. Again, now we're looking at music. Yeah, I remember with music, and I'm gonna get a little long winded here. As a kid, I remember having a jukebox, two cassette players, and Michael Jackson releasing whatever version of Michael Jackson's in the '80s he was releasing, and everybody was quick to find the radio station and then record it and then dub it and then make their own little mixtape. That was music, for a while, but and even before that, you got guys that played real instruments. That music felt warm, okay? But as you get through, now the big focus is, back in the day was, now they're gonna put everything you can't play music, you can't listen to it, now they're gonna put it on the record. Then, wow, from a record, it went to a CD, and then
Mhm.
from a CD, we're worrying about digital rights. Can I get paid? How do I maximize my money? How do I get paid from this? The most efficient way. And then music just I think we lost a little bit of music in that area, in that time
Yeah.
frame. You know?
It's a, the incentivization. There's no the incentive to create music is sort of I do it because I love it,
Mhm.
but also I would like to do it because I love it and I'm able to cover my own basis as far as to be able to create it because it for me the cost is definitely I'm
Mhm.
not making money. I'm in a
Yeah.
loss every year, and that's okay because I love it. But at the same time, man, there certainly would be a lot more less I can't explain it. It'd be a lot better as far as being able to pay for all the things to keep the speakers flapping, and it would just bring even more joy to me actually, to be able to have some sort of incentive. It just
Mhm.
keeps you rolling because if there's no incentive, then yes, you create music because you love it, but I think having an incentive kind of also keeps you invigorated and moving
Yeah.
forward. And that's why you're seeing some of these legacy artists are still going on tour because there's money to be made on that, and humans like to be entertained, and they're paying for it, so there's a demand
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
So kind of interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the spectrum that we are still discovering is that look, you have somebody recording on a cassette player, just breaking the little part of TDK cassette player, and all of a sudden you're able to record on it and create your own mixtape. Like every time the song comes on a radio, right? That ability to do everything you want to do as far as the listener goes, not the artists themselves. Even the listeners have a different way of interacting with the music now, right? So to address one of the things that what's happening is that you have a lot more artists than you used to have. So the genre of music, the way it's changing, the way you're able to actually feel warmed by an artist is changing also, because you don't have a single artist that you're a fan of. You're a fan of nobody, you just listen to everybody, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Because of
that's
the
that's changing with the CDs and the
yes.
digital MP3s, the cheaper way of getting the music, generating the music, and getting the music out to the people. So that the broad spectrum of listeners changing. But to stick with the listener part of things, if you're a listener and artist is generating the music, well, that's one AI, but the listeners has another sort of AI as an advantage, right? So these AIs that listeners are listening to, excuse me, the people that are listening to, they have to actually be cognizant of the fact of AI, because an artist has a responsibility, but the artist has a small control over how music can manipulate, right? Because an emotional trigger that music creates, that warmth that the music creates, AI is the worst kind of villain you can have when it comes to emotional manipulation, right? Personalized manipulation. Because if an AI can figure out through the I don't want to call it MP3. It's like an Apple
The
Music
catalog.
catalog, and then a Spotify catalog. These all have AIs built into it, so it's
Right.
always feeding into your emotions, right? So the music can be manipulative through emotion, because if you remember Marilyn Manson, right? You would think Marilyn Manson fans are like not necessarily the top of the line guys that has
Beautiful
like
people.
emotional stability.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Ironically, yeah.
I mean, you look at the Marilyn Manson and some other guys that are like pushing those musics that are like kind of
Yeah.
sort of in a violent way, or has
Yeah.
those like self degrading kind of messages in it.
Mhm.
So if you think about it, it could
What I've
keep you on the
noticed about
loop.
that
It could keep feeding you into that emotions, rather than say like, how do I change emotions? How do I experience a broad range of emotion? Warmth for a little bit, crying for a little bit, happy for most of the time, and normal
yeah.
for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? Like
You know what
that
that to me
listener has
translates
the
to?
responsibility too.
That translates to me is the playlisting. Like what we're talking about with the cassettes is really playlisting
Mhm.
in
Yeah,
today's, which is amazing because you can create very quickly. Somebody else may have already created a playlist that you can leverage. I want
that's
to have
right.
a beautiful Italian dinner at my house. Come on over. Let's put some Italian music on, Italian
Right.
dinner music, and let's just create the atmosphere.
That's
That's
right.
it's pretty powerful
Mhm.
stuff, pretty amazing, and it's just I'm thinking
Yeah.
about the playlisting features that exist out there and how somebody adds me to their playlist
Mhm.
because my music is more energizing, it's more in your face, it's heavy, that some people have put me on their playlist and it helps me, but also maybe I'm helping them because they're getting through some hard times or something, or maybe
That's right.
Mhm.
some of the other things I also notice. I know I'm going all over the place, but like as far as brooding, like violence and anger, which is
Right.
notoriously part of metal, you can't. as far as the tooling, the responsibility within GPT right now, I was trying to screw around with. I have a song called "Bot Destroyer," by the way, which is ironic. So you can see my shirt on here. It's kind of like man versus machine, kind of like the old T2 story.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you start putting that kind of stuff in there to be like, okay, generate me some lyrics. Here's my lyrics.
Yeah.
Try to
Yeah.
expound on these to make it better. It's like, I'm sorry, I can't do that. We don't advocate for violence and this and that. Da, 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 da. I'm like, okay, well, they put their guardrails in, and there's a limiter
Right.
there, and now you're preventing me from my
Wow.
doing something. Pretty
I mean,
interesting.
I wanna
That's
add to
interesting. I
Stifling,
that.
never thought about
stifling
that.
my creativity. Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to add to that category of range of motions that we talked about because we talk about violence. What about sexual? What is it
that
called?
use
Like
part music,
yeah,
like
yeah,
tension,
exactly. Like
sexual
dehumanizing a
tension.
person, right?
Yeah,
To say like I could do these things, and if AI is creating this music because you're like, oh, you're just a Marilyn Manson, you might like dehumanizing a person based on their sexuality, or talk about like rap violence, like being
yeah,
in a gang, right?
gang. Yeah,
So
yeah,
so you have a range of things that you
yeah,
really have to be cognizant about as a listener because you can
yeah.
fall into that trap, and AI might not
Uh,
be able to pick you back up because
Right.
there's a lot of people.
It's true.
I mean, I can tell you that part of the world that they listen to music like that, and that's how their reality is literally,
that's how
right?
it's
They
real.
don't see they
Yeah,
don't see like violence as something abnormal. They see violence as normal because
it was
all the
normal.
music they
Yeah.
listen to has those violent message in it, right?
Yeah,
Like
Mhm.
I'm a drug dealer, or I just go kill people because I like to have fights and stuff like that.
yeah,
Range of spectrum here, but at the same time, the listener has the responsibility where artist has limited amount of control in how the listener takes their message and converts it into their environment that they live in, right?
yeah.
Because an artist from Hollywood might not care about a zip code that has most violence in the country, right? Because
Mm,
he doesn't live that life; he just sings it.
yeah,
Country
Right.
musician, that's what I'm talking
yeah.
about. Country musicians.
Yeah, it's just stifling. It's like people that live that lifestyle that want to come forward and tell their stories. I mean, they may be
Mhm.
prevented from doing that in the future
Yeah,
because AI might step in and say, "No, that's not kosher for us." So
right.
cross you out.
I just had that thought. I just had that thought that as we see AI generated music, we'll be able to tell the difference. We're like, "No, that has no soul. That
Yeah,
has no reality." It's gonna be too in the parameter of it fits it,
yes,
it's too PC. If you know what I mean? It's too
yeah,
Right.
AI and music that comes from the soul is gonna be dirty. It's gonna
yeah,
have the stuff that nobody wants to hear, but it's gonna be
yeah.
real. You know what I mean? It's gonna
Right,
be
right. Could be
and it's
real.
not gonna be
Yeah,
shocking, but you'll be able to feel it, and it's
yeah.
hard to say that unless you can hear music that you feel. Like, I'll give you an example. There's old music that I love. I love old music, like
Me too.
older 50, 60. There's a
50s.
band called and I don't know if I have it's Vintage Explosion, I think is who they are. And they're from I wanna say they're a group out of Russia or they're out somewhere in that they sound like the classic, just all the music coming out that came out in the '50s and '60s, they sound like it came and they're playing it now, and it sounds
Hmm.
great. And I thought about that. I was like, "Well, is that the job of AI, to maintain the library of music and be able to regurgitate what we have later? Maybe that's a good place for it." But we
Hmm.
already do a good job of that now, but that it feels real though, and that's getting back to the point is you get to music that you can feel, and then there's gonna be music, I think, that's gonna be like computer generate like, almost like, when I was a kid, there was, what do they call that? Um, techno or
Hmm.
more, music that's generated from computers that you can put your thumb on real quick. You
Hmm.
can feel the difference between and in
Yeah.
between someone just singing and you feel the resonance in their voice and
Yeah.
the ups and downs.
Downs and the yeah.
You feel and that's
Right.
where I think you'll later will feel that same difference, from AI versus something that comes from like Sting,
So so
Yeah.
original.
so going back to the pre-trained AI. I mean, I'm not trying to single out AI because we as a human do that pre-trained very well.
Yeah.
If you listen to some of the country musicians, they pretty much copied and mimicked somebody else who had successful, talking about trucks and being in another country and having a girlfriend. You just
Right.
repeat those three things
Yeah.
over and over, pre-trained, right? Like you
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
repeat that and you get a success. And like I said, they live in Hollywood and talking about singing in like, oh, I'm in Florida, having my country life. Like
Yeah.
you never been to Florida, but you sing about Alabama all the time for no reason, right?
Yeah.
So let me just say about the soul part of things, right? Like if you never had a soul, you wouldn't understand what a soulful music is, right? Because you never been given that chance to learn about what a soul and what a warmth looks like. Because you just got into the AI music because you're born in a certain year, say 2020, after COVID,
You're
right?
hitting something
So,
really hard
so
right now, man, and that has to do with like this new generation doesn't know is gonna over
right,
the generations. It's just gonna kind of erode. I have a feeling,
right,
and that all this music, the expectations of it being so crisp, every
right.
spectrum heard perfectly, every kick drum,
Perfectly.
snare,
Yeah,
everything's in its
yeah,
perfect
yeah.
place. It's just nailing you, right? That's what they're
Right,
used to hearing, and then when
right,
they hear something real, they may be like, "Well, what's that?" Maybe it will,
right.
if that
That
we don't keep that alive, then I have a feeling that the art form is going to go away, and it's just
That's right.
that's not
yeah.
necessarily a fear, but it's just the facts, like you guys are saying. It's just the way things. It's coming. There's
It's
not a whole
coming.
lot you could do about it. Cherish the past as history, and this is the new way.
Yeah.
So
Unfortunately, I mean,
I think one of the
better or
artists, like
worse.
like you said, if AI is always copied and pasted, once you hear that noise that you've never heard before, you're like your eyes are glowing now because like I never heard that. I haven't heard that at least for a long time. Like say for example, this artist called Oliver Anthony, country singer, right? You hear him, you're like his voice is telling me he's so real that AI cannot generate that kind of emotion in him. Like that person is like no studio behind him. He's just out in the country, like in the woods, have a mic and just singing his banjo away. Like that creates a different reaction, right? So the soulfulness comes kicking. But the thing is, like, is it because of me? Like I've been craving that kind of music because I heard it before? Or what if somebody never heard it? Now they look at it like, that didn't hit me anywhere because I don't even know where to start with that, because they were born in certain years after me, and so having said all that, look, this is not about AI bashing. This is not about
Yeah,
bashing artists. This is not
Mm.
about figuring out a listener's problem. This is just to get people to start thinking,
thinking
Yeah.
about
right?
it
Like that
exactly.
the SAG union protest, that car union protest, they're a telltale sign of what it takes to be proactive rather than reactive.
Mm,
Because the reactive on AI versus reactive on the software development that we've seen for the last 30 years, you had a lot of time to adapt and adjust to a software development of the world of Google and Microsoft. But all of a sudden with AI, you really don't have that kind of luxury anymore to just say, I'm just going to wait and be reactive and find out when something does happen. Like this AI is such a broad spectrum. This is not like a software where you have to code and learn how to code and do all these crazy things for so many years, and then by the time it catches on, everybody's already okay with it. But AI is not, and I think that's the message that I'm trying to portray through talking to different industry, talking to different people with a different mindset, just to say proactive will pay off. Reactive is yet to be seen, and I don't think that's going to be good anyway.
when I think of data sets, I think of data archiving, and with everybody being forced to go digital, physical media still is there. Vinyl's doing actually making a little resurgence because
Come
people
back,
are
yeah,
enjoying it.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
really
yeah.
cool, and I think that's awesome. It's being preserved in a different medium, but the majority obviously is going. Most people's albums and singles are on Spotify and all the digital
Mhm.
distributors out there. And what I think could happen maybe 100 years from now is my music will be like the Roaring Thirties to us now. Like, I love that kind of that kind of
Mhm.
music. It's really cool.
Right.
I don't go out of my way to listen to it, but it's like one of those things where it's still there in the background, but maybe during that time, that stuff will be gone, and all the physical stuff will be gone. So now we have lost a humanity, an art form that where everything came from. Um, the all the influences in music, because somebody's influenced by somebody else. That's just how it works. So
Mhm.
I was thinking about that from a data archiving perspective. What's that going to look like 100 years from now? Rosati won't even be a thought. Not even me, but I mean, just all the other artists that were way before me.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
they're really
Well,
interesting.
That kind of brings me down to, again, if we can take AI and turn it, for loss of a better term, a tool amongst our tool belt. Like, I'll give you an example. Back in the day when I was a kid, I remember there was a group called not a group, a band called Kraftwerks, and Kraftwerk, they were all digital. They were the first ones to say, "Hey guys, we're not playing anything. We're not playing any instrument. Everything that we have is a digital sound." The puka, 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 just weird beats.
Mhm.
Now that they were mildly famous, but what they did to the industries, they gave the industry all of the beats that they never had.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The Kraftwerks are they're the beginnings of all of beats for all of rap. All of you can
Right.
there's so many, different genres of, but it all started with them, and they were all digitized. So, long story short is that if we can take whatever AI does and make it a tool, but still be creative, use it as part of
Yeah.
something, but still make it real, I think it'll work.
I
But
think that's the balance. Yeah.
it's
That's
yeah,
the
it's a
balance. Yeah.
you hit a balance, and we've got to
Yeah.
find it. Who knows what the right guy will do it right, and we'll know it. But there's opportunity there, and
Yeah.
AI does make things easier. You just got to figure out
It
how to
does.
do that, how to help you.
Yeah.
I don't want to end this episode without mentioning Daft Punk. Um, they're the
Definitely.
greatest. I don't care what era you are generating from or what era you were born into. Daft Punk is greatest. But just to add to what we're talking about with archiving, is that I'm actually interested in listening to Daft Punk 100 years from now. Well, Daft Punk is no longer alive, you know, but in a different twist. As in, I
Yeah.
still hear those notes and beats, that similarity, but the lyrics are a little bit of off the area. And I think we want to end with a joke here. Like Tupac has this continuous joke that when Tupac died back in '90s, he's still making music in 2016. So Dave Chappelle had a skit where he was in the club and everything that Tupac was saying was literally happening to Dave Chappelle as Tupac was singing it. Um, like Tupac is not dead; he's in Cuba somewhere, just hanging out, and he's making the music in real time, telling people like, "I see you, what you're doing. I'm not dead." So I
The
think I
human
think that's the
spirit
kind
lives
of
on.
fun
Yeah.
part of it. Yeah, spirit lives
Hmm.
on. And I think that's the cool part of archiving and using that archive data to make new music.
Yeah. Yeah, deep fake can make a can bring Tupac back. Tell you there's nothing
Yeah.
more than just having Tupac's voice reading the Grinch, and
Newspaper.
making the Grinch a rap song, like the book, and having Tupac read it. It would sell just
It
because
would
it's
sound
Tupac. You
right.
know what I mean? But that's where we're at, you know.
Yeah.
Love it, man.
But
Love
you
it.
know what,
So
guys?
yeah.
We're getting close to wrapping this up. Uh, from my perspective, AI in the music industry, I think that it's fantastic. I just think that, again, it has to be a tool. I think everything that you've seen with AI, it people have tried to, I don't give it, demonize it somewhat because of what we're used to seeing. Um, AI has been around for a real long time. It's been affecting us, and we just don't know it. But now it's more of it's got a name, a presence, and we got emotions tied to it now. Long story short, we can we can benefit from it. We just got to figure out how. And Tony, you I hope and wish that you take advantage of every bit of AI, and we can hear more of Tony's Razatti music in the future.
I appreciate it. Thanks. And thanks for having me. This was an awesome discussion and really a topic that I think is a great topic to dive into. Um, just music in general and in concert with AI and how that what we think that looks like. And this is just awesome. I appreciate you having me on. And again, if you want to find my stuff, RosatiMusic.com. I'm on X. I'm also on Facebook, YouTube. I have a channel, and Instagram is primarily where I post a lot of things. You'll see a mix of content, whether it be a lot of Tampa Bay Lightning hardship right now because we won 2 Stanley Cups back to back. Went to the 3rd Stanley Cup and lost. Then we went
Oh.
from not making the Stanley Cup, and now we're in the dredges of rebuilding. So having a lot of fun.
Ay, 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 ay,
Ay,
ay.
ay, ay. Hey, you
Ay.
know, you sometimes you win and sometimes you don't.
Can't win them all, right?
That's right.
Professional sports for you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
It was an
Great
absolute pleasure.
conversation.
Have a great,
All right.
great.
Ay, 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 ay.